My husband, a sent-down youth I'd only been married to for a year, got the factory director's daughter pregnant behind my back, all to secure a job back in the city, while I was carrying his child. After I started bleeding, I went to his workplace to find him, only to discover him and the director's daughter going at it in the staff dormitory. He put his clothes on and said with disgust, "All the village women give birth at home, why are you so delicate, with no other choice?" I endured the excruciating pain and rode alone to the town hospital, but I fell into a ravine, a tragic end for both mother and unborn child. When I opened my eyes again, it was my first day arriving in the village as an educated youth. I was sitting on the kong, sewing a cotton-padded jacket for my unborn child, when I stood up and felt a sudden warm gush between my legs. Instinct told me my water had broken. Staggering to my feet, I headed straight for the factory to find my husband, Wei Gang. Our new home was just outside the textile mill's compound, so I got there in a matter of minutes. Just a couple of days ago, I told Wei Gang that I was about to give birth and asked if I could take a few days off. The village midwife said my belly is too big, and she's afraid she won't be able to handle the delivery. I need to go to the hospital in town. Every time, he'd nod vaguely but refuse to take the leave. He said Director Liu thinks highly of him and has only taught him how to do a lot of the work. If he doesn't go, no one else can manage it. "Whoa, sister-in-law, what are you doing here in your condition?" my coworker quickly asked when he saw me come in. "Where's Wei Gang? I'm not feeling well and need him to take me to the hospital." I think Brother Wei was called away by Secretary Zhao." My coworker looked a bit awkward and spoke somewhat haltingly when talking to me. "Secretary Zhao, oh. Now I remember, a year ago, factory director Zhao's daughter, Zhao Chanqian, graduated from university and came to work as a secretary at the factory. I had just married Wei Gang back then, and I saw her once when I came to deliver a meal. She walked into the workshop break room carrying a few lunch boxes, looking absolutely stunning. She wore a soft yellow dress, sheer stockings, and high heels, her hair styled in soft waves. "Let me add another dish for everyone," she said. Always knowing how to work a room, everyone in the factory called her the factory belle. "Chanqian, you college graduates really are different, so youthful and radiant. Seeing anyone special?" asked workshop director Liu. "I just graduated, I've never even been in a relationship," Zhao Chanqian said with a bashful look that made all her coworkers stare, mesmerized. "So, what kind of guy are you looking for?" "There are plenty of fine young men right here in our factory," workshop director Liu said. Shoveling a mouthful of rice, "I want someone like Brother Wei." As she spoke, Zhao Chanqian cast her gaze directly over, completely ignoring my presence beside her. Wei Gang was taken aback, swallowing the food that had caught in his throat. "You must be joking," he said. "I'm just an educated youth who was sent down to the countryside." "What's wrong with that? You're educated, you know a lot, and most importantly, you've got drive." "I like that." The room fell silent, and everyone turned their gaze toward me. "Don't get the wrong idea," Zhao Chanqian added playfully, as if to herself. "It's just that I can see Brother Wei dotes on his wife. Your wife must be very happy, right?" I just smiled without a word and kept on eating. She was indeed more sophisticated than me, a college student to boot. Faced with that teasing provocation, I was left speechless. "That's right, young Wei is diligent and eager to learn. Well educated, a man of good character. And he dotes on his wife." Director Liu chimed in agreement. Wei Gang was truly a handsome man. The very first day he arrived in the village, my eyes found him among the other young men. He knew just how to make me happy, tall, strong, and full of vigor. In the months before I got pregnant, he was eager to plow the field every single night. These memories come flooding back, ever since my belly grew large. He said he didn't want me to go through the trouble of bringing him food. He said eating in the cafeteria was just as good. A sudden, uneasy feeling came over me. "Where is Secretary Zhao's office?" "At the far end of the first floor in the staff dormitory." As I walked, I felt the pain in my stomach flare up again. I endured the pain and entered the staff dormitory. The office was empty. "Ugh, I'm not done yet. Hurry up and get dressed for work. It won't look good if the other workers see us." The office was empty, but I could hear hushed whispers coming from the dormitory next door. It was Zhao Chanqian's voice. Without thinking, I slowed my pace and walked up to the door. "Let your husband give you another kiss." It was my husband. "Honey," my heart just dropped. She called him honey. Is he cheating on me? "Ugh, you got all the fun, now get to work. You made such a mess. I need to go get some water to clean up." Zhao Chanqian's voice was still dripping with that same coy, seductive charm. "After all that, I'm exhausted. How am I supposed to work? Director Liu isn't even here today. Let me rest here a bit longer." This is my dorm, go home and cuddle with your own wife. Then came a loud thud, as if something had hit the floor. Oh, come off it, the one at home is like a harpy, just looking at her makes me sick. What do you mean, she's your wife, and she's carrying your child? I heard Zhao Qianqian's sarcastic remark, my wife. If she hadn't been so shamelessly persistent in chasing after me back then, do you really think I'd have given her a second look? My heart sank. It was him who made the first move, which is why I thought he was interested in me. Come on, your wife was the village belle. Half the young men in the village had their eyes on her, and you managed to snatch her up. You should treat her right. Village belle my foot, you have no idea. Now that she's pregnant, she's gotten so ugly and dark. I can't even bring myself to kiss her. Standing outside the door, I felt as if I'd been struck by a bolt from the blue. The hormonal changes during pregnancy gave me stretch marks, and my underarms did darken. The midwife said that usually means it's a boy, and it'll fade after the birth. When I talked to him about it myself, he kept saying it was fine, that he didn't mind at all, and yet here he is, saying these things in front of other people. So when are you two getting divorced? My dad's already setting me up on blind dates. Honey, just stall a bit longer, wait until she's had the baby, then I'll find an excuse to dump her. Besides, her old man is a real troublemaker. This way we avoid the hassle. I stood outside the door, hearing every word clearly. A sharp, overwhelming pain surged through my abdomen, rage took over my mind, and I began pounding on the door like a madwoman. Who is it? There was a flurry of commotion inside, and it took a long moment before the door finally opened. Sis-in-law, what brings you here? Oh, Wei, brother Wei is here with me. We were just talking about the wages. The moment she opened the door and saw it was me, her expression changed drastically. Her face, which had been flushed, instantly turned deathly pale. I didn't let her finish. I slapped her right across the face. You shameless bitch, how dare you try to steal my man? What are you doing? Wei Gang saw me hit Zhao Qianqian and immediately rushed out, shielding her. His tone was harsh and domineering, his face twisted with rage. This is my man, yet he's defending someone else. It's only been a year, and he's completely lost the respectful, eager demeanor he had when he came to my family to propose. He must have found a more advantageous branch to climb, so all his kindness towards me was just an act. My stomach was churning violently at that moment. I finally saw him for who he truly was. I raised my hand to slap that bastard again, but a sudden, sharp pain in my stomach hit me. Before I could even swing, the pain doubled me over. Wah, how dare you hit someone? You're just a crude, ill-bred country shrew. Zhao Qianqian covered her face and began to sob in a delicate, pitiful voice. Qianqian, let me see. Wei Gang, ignoring how I was grimacing in pain, turned back to blow gently on Zhao Qianqian's face. It was a long moment before he finally turned back. How dare you hit someone without even asking for an explanation? I came to see Secretary Zhao on official business. We were just discussing work. You have no idea. How can you be so unreasonable? I suddenly felt a strong urge to use the bathroom. The midwife said this feeling means the baby is coming, even though I was absolutely furious. Giving birth was the priority right now. Get me to the hospital, quick, the baby's coming. I'll settle the score with you two wretched cheaters after I've had this baby. What hospital? That'll cost a fortune. Go home and get the midwife. Wei Gang's tone was dripping with disdain and impatience. Now that I'd caught him in the act, he didn't even bother pretending with me anymore. The midwife said the baby's too big, it's dangerous to give birth at home. She refused to deliver it and told me to go to the hospital. The pain was so intense I just dropped to the floor. A sheen of hot sweat breaking out all over me. Everyone else can give birth at home, why can't you? We're all country women, you're just being delicate. Zhao Qianqian chimed in from the side, her hand covering her face, but the pain was too much. I didn't have the energy to spare for their nonsense. Wei, I'm carrying your child, how can you be so cruel? I stared at Wei Gang, shouting the accusation at him. Get up first. Wei Gang reached out a hand to help me up. Sis, I'm pregnant with brother Wei's child too. You two aren't right for each other. He doesn't love you. Please, just let him go. Is that true? Before I could even react, Wei Gang, overjoyed, suddenly let go of my hand he was pulling, completely ignoring the fact that I was in excruciating pain. Why didn't you tell me sooner? If I'd known you were pregnant, I would never have touched you today. Yes, it's been 2 months. Watching that despicable couple being all lovey-dovey right in front of me, I wanted to kill them, but right now, I'm staring death in the face. You despicable pair, let me be brutally honest, I never thought you were good enough for me. If you hadn't thrown yourself at me, I would never have married a country bumpkin like you. A fresh wave of excruciating pain washed over me. I struggled but couldn't get up. And their words became a distant blur. One thought was crystal clear. If I didn't get to a hospital, I was going to die. Wei Gang, I'm begging you, my stomach hurts, we can talk about this later. Just take me to the hospital first. Wei Gang, let me make this clear. Don't you dare walk away and pretend nothing happened. If you go to her, I'll go get an abortion. If you don't stay with me, forget about getting that transfer back to the main plant in the city. I'll make sure you lose your job right here. Zhao Qianshan started crying, turned and sat down on the bed, adopting a posture of someone holding all the cards, forcing Wei Gang to make a choice. Just go home and wait on the con. No one dies from having a baby. Stop being so dramatic. Wei Gang furrowed his brow, but that was all he managed to say. That bastard. Just you wait. Knowing he was a lost cause, once the pain subsided, I waddled out of the factory, my belly heavy, and spotted a three-wheeler parked by the gate. It was one they used for work in the workshop. I turned the key and drove off. The hospital was only half an hour away. I could manage this birth on my own, but halfway there, it started to rain. It felt like the heavens themselves were mocking me. As dusk fell, the muddy mountain path became more treacherous than ever. Just then, a bus came barreling towards me. My vision went dark, and in a panic, I jerked the handlebars, sending both me and my bike tumbling down the mountainside. One body, two lives lost. My spirit detached from my body and, without conscious thought, came to rest against the ceiling of the hospital room. I saw my father collapse to the floor, cradling my blood and dirt-streaked face as he wailed, "Oh, my girl, why has life been so cruel to you?" I wanted to go to him, to comfort him, to tell him it was okay and that I wasn't in pain, but I had no strength left. He couldn't see me either. Shortly after, Wei Gang arrived in a panic, bringing his mother along. Zhao Qianshan was right behind them. "Dad, it's not my fault." Who knew the incense would be so useless? How could giving birth turn into a matter of life and death? The old man wiped his tears, glanced back at the three of them, and was suddenly filled with rage. He raised his hands and began choking Wei Gang's neck with all his might. "You ungrateful traitor, if it weren't for you, my daughter wouldn't have died." With a sudden, violent shove, Dad sent Wei Gang stumbling back into the corner. Even though he was a full head shorter than Wei Gang, he looked capable of murder. My city-bred mother-in-law and Zhao Qianshan were terrified by this scene. They'd never seen anything like it. They rushed over, grabbing at my father's arms. "You country folk are such savages. Did Gongzi make her lose the baby?" "No, she was too weak to carry it. And then she insisted on going to the hospital. She was just born unlucky." "What gives you the right to bully my son, having just lost his daughter?" My father couldn't take their provocation. He turned around, ready to hit my grandmother, but the scumbag kicked him to the ground. "Damn it, you country bumpkins are nothing but filthy scoundrels, so damn difficult to deal with." Seeing my father being bullied, I screamed and struggled frantically, but my consciousness began to slip into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I saw a calendar with a New Year's painting of a chubby baby on the wall. My head was splitting with pain. I sat up and felt my stomach. There was nothing. Looking down again, I saw I still had my hair in two long braids. Puzzled, I got out of bed and picked up the mirror from the table. In the mirror, my reflection was radiant, with a fair and youthful complexion. It was just like how I looked before I was married. A commotion rose from the courtyard. Peering through the window, I watched as 5 or 6 boys walked in. In that moment, I knew for certain I had been reborn. In 1975, on the very first day of the Educated Youth to the Countryside movement, my father was the village chief. These lads had transferred buses all the way from the city and arrived quite late, since the village hadn't assigned them work yet. Dad brought them home to stay with us temporarily. My eyes immediately found Wei Gang. He was wearing a clean white short-sleeved shirt, looking neat and handsome. In my past life, I fell for him at first sight, which led to me being deceived and used by him, ultimately plummeting into the abyss. Just thinking about the agony I endured and the helpless desperation my father felt fighting for me, a deep, seething hatred welled up inside me. I rushed into the courtyard and slapped Wei Gang right across the face. "In this life, I will pay back every last bit of the humiliation I suffered in my last one." Everyone was stunned. "Xiang, what are you doing? What's with the rudeness?" Dad stood in the yard, staring at me in wide-eyed disbelief at my bizarre behavior. Looking at my dad, a wave of hurt and heartache washed over me. I threw my arms around him and burst into tears. "What's wrong, sweetheart? What happened? Tell your dad." Dad patted my shoulder. Even though he didn't know what was wrong, he still comforted me. Sorry about that, Gongzi, this kid, I've spoiled her rotten since she was little. I'm fine. Is this your daughter? Wei Gang rubbed his face, putting on a nonchalant air as he asked with eager courtesy. Hello, I'm from the city, my name is. I smacked him hard across the face. Again, the bucket fell in. Aren't you going to get it? He tried to be helpful by fetching water from the well in the yard, but he made a mess of it. Oh, for goodness sake, look how clumsy I am. He agreed with a smile on his lips, but I caught a flash of anger in his eyes. The ocean isn't as deep as he is full of it. Everyone was alarmed, my father included. What are you doing, child? Apologize right now. My dad was a little embarrassed by my odd behavior. It's alright, uncle. Wei Gang, rubbing his cheek, lowered the rope into the well to nudge the bucket. You child, where are your manners? Apologize. I was afraid he'd break our bucket. It's the only one we have. You hit someone over a single bucket. These are educated folks. They're not used to manual work. You're getting more and more willful. I'm sorry, we country folk can be a bit rough. It just hurts to see things get broken, so I might have been a bit heavy-handed. I stared at Wei Gang, enunciating each word slowly and deliberately. This kid, what kind of attitude is that? Gongzi, don't take it to heart, alright. I'll give him a proper talking to when I have a moment. We have guests tonight. So go over to your auntie's place and ask to stay there. Go on, off you go. After apologizing, Dad turned back to me and ordered me to leave. It's quite alright. Your sister was right to scold me. I was careless and broke something in your home. Wei Gang was just as obsequious as he was in my past life. Back then, I never gave him any reason to feel wronged. I hadn't realized he had this much patience. I'll have to see just how long he can keep it up. In the morning, I made some vegetable pancakes and took them to the village office for my father. The village chief and a few other officials were discussing how to assign the educated youths. 2 will go to the hillside to farm, 2 to the pigsty, and 1 will stay at the village office to organize ideological education for the villagers. In my past life, because Wei Gang showed me favor, I used my desire to learn to read as an excuse to have my father keep him at the village office. What are you all doing? Ah, Xiang is here. What good food did you bring for your father today? Secretary, you asked kindly, seeing me come in. We need to assign tasks to those young lads. I moved closer to look at the form on the paper, though in truth, I couldn't read. So, who should we send to work the fields? Who should clean the pigsty? And who should stay behind to organize the villagers' ideological education? The group was stumped. Get the one up top. I suddenly heard voices outside. So I put down the basket and went into the yard. 2 young men climbed to the top of the tree to pick the pears. Xiang, this is for you. Wei Gang jumped down from the tree, wiped the largest pear on his pants, and handed it to me. Damn it, if you all hadn't shown up, these would have all been mine. Who needs you trying to suck up to me? Thank you, I said, feigning calm. Xiang, I heard we're getting our work assignments today. Do you know what I'll be doing? Wei Gang suddenly leaned in close and asked in a low voice. Then, he secretly handed me a small tin. I brought this scented bomb back from the city. It's for you. I see right through that fawning scoundrel and his intentions. This must be very valuable. Right, how could I possibly accept your gift? Are you trying to bribe me? I deliberately raised my voice a notch. What are you talking about? Xiang, I just think you have such delicate, fair skin. If you applied some scented balm, it would become even more radiant. Looking at his earnest, pleading eyes, a wave of physical revulsion suddenly washed over me. In my past life, I was so swept away by his attentiveness that I never realized how presumptuous his words were. Oh, come on, really now? A country girl like me isn't fit to use something so fancy. I pushed it back toward him. Deep down, he looked down on country folk. Yet he swallowed his pride and buttered me up for the sake of his future. The man had serious patience. What are you talking about? Rural this, rural that. Sure, I've had a few years of schooling, but wasn't the whole point of the party sending us educated youth down to the countryside to apply what we've learned to develop rural areas? We're all in this together. We need to progress collectively. Alright, that's laying it on a bit thick. Seeing me hesitate, he quickly slipped the scented ointment into my pocket. I pretended to be put on the spot and said, I think the party secretary mentioned something about you and Zhang Lei being assigned to build the pigsty. Which pigsty? That's the one. I pointed at the low wall outside the courtyard ahead. A dozen or so village pigs were sprawled over it, squealing, and the foul stench of pig manure wafted over now and then. The dilapidated wall was covered in dark, lumpy filth. Wei Gang grimaced in disgust, suppressing it to ask me, what about the others? Are there any other positions? Some folks go up the mountain to farm, But it's a long way, a good 10 miles. Once you're up there, you work the whole day and can't head back till evening. Oh, I see. But I heard from the party secretary that one person has to stay back at the village office. He called it a floater position, though I'm not sure what that means. Xiang, do you think you could find a way to get me that floater job? If I can land it, I'll teach you how to read and write. How does that sound? I saw a spark light up in his eyes as he moved closer to me. That mobile unit job sounds exhausting. You have to hold meetings for the villagers, do ideological education, and go wherever there's work. They say it's really tough. It's fine, I can handle hardship. I'm not sure if I can. Of course you can, besides, you're so bright. I could teach you how to write articles in just a few months. Well, I'll give it a try. I pretended to be hesitant as I walked into the room. Dad, have they decided who's staying on at the village office? Not yet. Why do you ask? How about we keep Wei Gang, you little minx? What's on your mind? The party secretary teased. They're on rotation anyway. He's tall and looks strong. He can go haul night soil for Widow Wang in the east end of the village tomorrow. Alright then. She has trouble getting around, and she's come to the village looking for him several times already. On his very first day at work, Wei Gang spent the whole day hauling night soil for Widow Wang. At dusk, I made some vegetable pancakes. Everyone else had come back, but there was still no sign of him. Isn't Gonzi at the village committee doing ideological education? Zhang Lei asked me through a mouthful of flatbread. Staying at the village office is a flexible post. Who says it's just about ideological education? I shot back. Then what's he supposed to do there? Hauling night soil for the widow? A few people snickered. And here we thought he was bribing you for some cushy job. What kind of person do you take me for? Your assignments all come from the party secretary. A young girl like me can't just boss the village office around. That would be a complete farce. Exactly. Xiaomei's no fool either. She's sharp as a tack. She didn't fall for his cheap tricks. That guy's got a nasty streak, and he's been cutting corners and slacking off this whole trip. We were just joking around in the courtyard when we saw Wei Gang storm in, his face like thunder, followed by a powerful stench of shit. Holy crap, Gonzi, you smell absolutely fantastic. Everyone covered their noses in unison. He looked at me, a hint of reproach in his eyes. But he couldn't very well make a scene. Brother Wei, I've boiled some water. Maybe you should go rinse off. I walked closer to him and said, feigning sympathy. When he heard I'd boiled water for him, the shadow in his eyes seemed to lighten a little. Sorry, Brother Wei, I didn't know the mobile unit had to handle this kind of stuff. It's fine, it's all part of the job. Seeing him in such a sorry state, I felt a secret thrill of satisfaction. Let him haul night soil for a few months first. Wei Gang returned home each day with a face like thunder. Everyone struggled to contain their amusement at seeing him fail so spectacularly in his scheme. After a month, he had finished hauling the night soil from every household in the village with elderly, weak, sick, or disabled members. That morning, upon waking up, Wei Gang changed into a white shirt and went with me to the village office. Xiang, the flatbread you made is delicious. I've never had any this good back home. Really? Well, have some more then, I thought to myself. You lazy, good-for-nothing moocher. All you're good at is sweet talking. As soon as we entered the courtyard, we could hear the party secretary and my dad talking. Xiaomi isn't getting any younger. Why haven't you started looking for a match for her? This child is too headstrong, still acts like a boy. Is there a single boy in our village who grew up with her that she hasn't beaten up? But this girl is hardworking and reliable. With such a fresh, lively beauty, she's so likable. Why would finding a husband be a problem? I tried to set her up with the Li family's son from East Village before, but she turned him down, saying he was too slow and easygoing for her taste. I've met that Li boy. He's a decent-looking lad, has a solid, honest character, and even holds a steady job at the factory. What I'm saying is, if she agrees, I could pull some strings and get her a job at the textile mill too. She'd be a proper worker with a state-guaranteed livelihood. How good would that be? Your dad can really get someone a job at the textile mill, Wei Gang asked me. The fox's tail was finally showing. In my past life, after hearing that, he started showering me with attention. He'd stay up late, ask me to watch the moon on the hillside, recite prose poetry to me. I was utterly enchanted by him and ended up marrying him. He also smoothly got a job at the factory through my father's connections. My dad knows the factory director, I said. Feigning hesitation, Uncle, what am I doing today? You're going to dig lotus roots in the pond at Village Group 2. I saw him breathe a sigh of relief, and a flicker of satisfaction stirred within me. I was actually the one who suggested this to the party secretary. Dad, he can't find it, let me take him. finally free from hauling night soil. Wei Gang's joy was written all over his face. I was secretly delighted. Just you wait, you'll be even happier in a moment. We arrived at the second team's pond, and Uncle Zhou came up to greet us. So this is young Wei, yes, an educated intellectual from the city. Ah, we're all the same here. We've come today to learn. Wei Gang, quite pleased with my introduction, feigned a bit of modesty. Young Wei here is so tall and strapping. We don't even have a wetsuit that fits him. How about, Uncle Zhou, could you find him a pair of wellies? Wellingtons might not be the best idea, he could get stuck in the mud. It's fine, he's tall and strong. Besides, it's his first day, he's not familiar with the work yet. We shouldn't run him into the ground, we need to take it easy on him. Wei Gang, thinking I was putting in a good word for him, chimed in. It's alright, Uncle Zhou, I can handle it. Wei Gang, why are you wearing shorts today? I asked, feigning concern. It's hot, plus, we're going in the water today, so shorts are more convenient. But, Uncle Zhou, kids from the city don't often get the chance to experience the countryside. You've got to give them a shot, right? Just as Uncle Zhou was about to speak, I brushed him off. He followed Uncle Zhou onto the boat, while I stayed on the bank, quietly licking my ice pop and watching them head into the middle of the pond. Wading into the pond in those baggy shorts, haha, what a sight. The moment Zhou got into the water, he let out a series of shrieks. Uncle Zhou, are there any water weeds in here? No water weeds at all. Is that a fish over there? No, that's a ricefield eel. Uncle Zhou, help me, quick. Zhou Gang let out a series of agonized screams, but Uncle Zhou's little boat had already drifted more than 10 meters away. Look at you, all brawny but with no strength to show for it. Harvesting lotus roots means bending down and groping through the mud. Zhou Gang endured the scolding, torn between terror and the urge to flee, standing in the water, with an eel wriggling uncomfortably in his pants. He felt utterly mortified. I was on the bank, doubled over with laughter, because I knew he was terrified of snakes, the kind of fear that would haunt his dreams for nights on end. Otherwise, I wouldn't have thought to make him do this, amidst the desperate cries for help. Wei Gang stumbled and fell, landing in the pond on his backside and swallowing a mouthful of filthy water. The thought of those slippery loaches and eels wriggling through his loose shorts filled me with a deep sense of satisfaction. When he finally made it to shore, I saw the tears in his eyes. I fetched a basin of clean water and pretended to console him with feigned sympathy. I had no idea you were afraid of eels. Around here, raising them is how folks make their living. We had just gotten back when we heard the party secretary shouting in anger, "How dare you, a big, strapping lad like you, tired from a bit of work, and you ran away." It was Zhang Wei, who had been sent down to the countryside in the same group as us. A few other comrades were standing around as well. He was there, sniveling and waiting to be scolded. Do you have any idea what the punishment is for a sent-down youth who runs away? You could be sent to prison, do you understand? Wei Gang was stunned and terrified upon hearing this. It was clear he had entertained the same thought. Secretary, I was wrong. I just had a momentary lapse in judgment. I don't know when this kind of life will ever end. Please, give me another chance. You're back, Dad asked as soon as he saw us. How did it go at the pond today? It was good, really good. Uncle Zhou looked after me, and the work he gave me wasn't hard at all. Seeing the situation before him, Wei Gang didn't dare complain or vent. He had no choice but to swallow the fright he'd suffered during the day. Well, you'd better hurry home and start cooking. Those lads will be back soon. Wei Gang and I left the village office, walking home into the setting sun. I was racking my brains, wondering how to mess with him next, when he suddenly spoke up. Xiang, what do you think of me? My hand was suddenly seized by his, a large, powerful, and calloused grip. He wore only a white tank top, soaked with sweat, and a sheen of moisture glistened on his firm chest muscles. I was so lost in the solid comfort of this chest. What do you mean by that? I've got my eye on you. Xiang, what do you think of me? If you like what you see, let's give this a shot. He was truly worn down by the struggle, knowing a return to the city was nowhere in sight. He'd had enough of this miserable life and refused to suffer any longer. I know exactly what he's scheming. Last time I mentioned my dad had connections to get into the textile mill. He couldn't hide his impatience. Most of the educated youth sent down to the village in recent years ended up marrying local girls and settling there, with no way back. A tiny few managed to get into factories, and over time, some even climbed to low-level managerial positions. He's probably come to terms with it these past few days, realizing he's stuck here and needs to carve out a path for himself. The prospect of factory work is an irresistible temptation for someone in his dusty, dead-end situation. He despised the countryside and, knowing he couldn't go back, clung to me like a lifeline, but the moment he found a better prospect, he cast me aside without a second thought. His change of heart was so swift, it was staggering. I was such a fool, thinking in my past life that I had found true love. Lost in the comfort of that embrace, I snapped out of my daze and let out a cold laugh. Xiang, what are you thinking? You're a college student from the city, and I'm illiterate. We're not a good match. What do you mean we're not a good match? Why do you keep bringing up your background? I don't look down on you. Besides, you're beautiful and capable. I liked you the moment I saw you. Yeah, right. I don't believe a word of it. Dad, what's your relationship with the textile factory owner? Old Zhao and I grew up together in the same village. The difference is, he got an education, became cultured, and ended up a big shot. I heard he also has a daughter. Oh, his daughter is nothing like you. She's a real headache for him. She went to college, but instead of finding a proper boyfriend there, she got involved with some punk kid. It made old Zhao so angry he had a stroke. So that's probably why she, a college graduate, didn't look for a job in the city and came back to work at the factory instead. Dad, I want to get a job at the textile mill. So you've come around. Didn't you always say the assembly line work at the textile mill was boring and you'd never go? I want to go now. You said you'd set me up on a date. If I had a proper job, wouldn't that make me seem more respectable? When I started working at the factory outside the village, Wei Gang's jealousy was practically oozing out of his chest. He'd come to the factory gate to pick me up every day after his own work, all cleaned up and spruced. Wishing he could get a job there himself, tired, Wei Gang asked me, not at all. It's much easier than cooking and doing farm work back home. I deliberately said what he wanted to hear. Right. His envy was written all over his face. That's nothing. The male workers have it even easier. They just coast through the day, only fixing a machine when it breaks down. They barely work an hour or two a day and still get paid more than us. It's so unfair, really. I slapped Wei Gong's hand away when he tried to hold mine. Aren't we dating? Why won't you even let me hold your hand? We're not married yet. It doesn't look proper to be all touchy-feely out in public. Then let's get married. A glint of cunning flashed in Wei Gang's eyes. But would your family agree to that? Sent-down youths were dispatched to the countryside with no clear end in sight. Someone as slippery as him could never endure that hardship. Grabbing hold of me was like clutching the Buddha's foot for salvation. He would never let go easily. Why on earth would they object? I thought your family only wanted someone from a well-connected family like Miss Zhao. What Miss Zhao? The factory director's daughter. I hear she's a university graduate too, not only beautiful, but also cultured and elegant. You sound like you know her personally. Of course, Director Zhao and my dad grew up together. How else do you think I got this job? I deliberately let that connection slip, but I like you anyway. He snapped back to reality, realizing I'd led him in circles, and decided I was too dense to see through him. I glanced at him and piled it on even thicker, stoking his hopes once again. Director Zhao is just like my dad. Don't let the fancy title fool you. Deep down, they're both just doting fathers. Look at his daughter. She went to university in a big city, so why did he bring her back to the factory? It's all so he can keep an eye on her and look out for her in the future. I reckon Director Zhao wants her to find a partner right here at the factory, so he can keep her under his wing. Oh, really? That's perfect then. His mouth was still forming a reply to me, but his mind was already somewhere else. Oh, right. The factory's New Year's Eve party is the day after tomorrow, and they're allowing family members to attend. Are you going? I'm going. His eyes suddenly lit up. But you're not technically my family. Would that be awkward? What are you talking about? We're dating. Of course that counts as family. Wei Gang presented a foreign-made watch to my father. It was the only valuable thing he owned. He promised my father he would never be disloyal and would devote himself to me wholeheartedly. Seeing that I was willing, my father agreed. After all, Wei Gang had put on a very convincing act. I deliberately postponed getting our marriage certificate until the following spring. Why does it have to be so long from now? It's too cold now. I'd rather wait for warmer weather to get married, and I want to wear a proper city-style wedding dress too. Alright then, it's just that I can't wait to marry you. Screw that, I thought to myself. What the hell have I gotten myself into, all this time? He had been reaping benefits from the village office in my name. Of course, everyone in the village knew he was seeing me. Be good and listen. Once we're married, I'll have my dad pull some strings to get you a job at the factory too. Then we'll both be workers and leave our rural lives behind. I gave him a grand, enticing promise. At the New Year's Eve party, the new secretary, Zhao Chanqian, captivated all the male workers in the factory, dressed in a white dress and black high heels. She performed a rendition of Night Shanghai that left them utterly spellbound. When it was our department's turn to perform, I egged Wei Gang on to go up on stage. What would I even perform? I'm not even a factory employee. He feigned reluctance, but he already had something up his sleeve. Hey, I saw you brought a poetry book. I might be a bit uncultured and miss the romantic nuances, but there are plenty of refined young ladies in the factory. Why don't you go up and read a poem? That son of a bitch, he even slicked his hair back into a pompadour, clearly trying to show off, and now he's playing coy. Wei Gang then rose to his feet, timid and hesitant. He read the poem on stage with passionate fervor, yet his stance wasn't directed toward me. Following his gaze, I saw Zhao Chanqian, her eyes equally tender and affectionate. I knew it was a done deal. The party was halfway through, and Wei Gang had been gone for ages. I went out to look for him and, sure enough, found him in Zhao Chanqian's office. You read the poem so well, so full of passion and vigor. Can you understand my passion, my fervor, and my rage? When cultured people get together to discuss culture, now that's what I call cultured. Is that your girlfriend you came with? No, she's the village head's daughter. She's like a little sister to me. Humph. I let out a cold snort from outside the door. I've taken a liking to you. Do you like me? This Zhao Chanqian is certainly forward. But I'm just an educated youth sent down to the countryside. What's wrong with the educated youth? They're cultured, knowledgeable, and most importantly, full of drive. I like that. History repeated itself in that moment. I suddenly heard a faint thud from inside the room, followed by the sound of a struggle. Then came the muffled sounds of a passionate kiss. That shameless pair must have jumped into bed together at first sight in their past life too. May I? What do you think? Peering through the crack in the door, I saw the two of them entangled on the bed, their clothes in disarray. I rushed to the venue in the front courtyard. The New Year's Eve party was winding down, with hundreds of people already getting up, ready to leave. Nobody leave. Secretary Zhao just said the factory has arranged a mysterious New Year's gift for everyone, and there's one for each person. I grabbed the microphone and called out loudly to stop those who were trying to leave. Really? What is it? We weren't told there would be any gifts. Where do we go to collect it? To Secretary Zhao's office. Of course, it's a surprise the factory has prepared for everyone. I led the workers to the staff building in the rear courtyard. Why's it so dark in here? You're not pulling our leg, are you? Shoo, keep it down. Secretary Zhao mentioned something about a surprise ceremony, so we should play along, right? Among the leading women was the wife of Director Liu, who was notorious in the factory for being a gossip. Hearing this, the others also lowered their voices with eager anticipation. The whole group made their way to the entrance in a grand procession. From inside the room came the sound of rhythmic, forceful thuds. This was followed by a woman's breathless, ecstatic murmurs. Where's Director Liu? Someone at the front of the crowd, clearly having heard the strange noises from within, suddenly blurted out, "Well, I'll be damned." Upon hearing this, Director Liu's wife didn't hesitate for a second. She kicked the door open. The office's main light was switched on with a loud click. Hundreds of people surged into the once spacious office in a massive wave. The two of them lay stark naked on the bed, momentarily frozen together by sheer nervousness, stuck fast. Ha. What a glorious moment. The entire factory staff swarmed in, jostling for a view, pushing forward one after another to get a good, long look at the spectacle. Director Liu's wife clapped a hand over her mouth, then turned and began shooing everyone out. Out, get out, all of you. There's nothing to see here. Wait, isn't that Zhang Xiangxiang's boyfriend? I let out a feigned, anguished cry, tears streaming down my face. The two on the bed had long since turned ashen, but Wei Gang was seized by a muscle spasm and couldn't disengage. Paralyzed and unable to move, they could only bury their faces against each other. I took a step forward, wanting to see the wretched pair in their current state, but Auntie Lu covered my eyes. There, dear, you've been wronged. A proper young lady shouldn't see such things. You go on out with the others now. The two were covered with a quilt by the male factory workers, carried onto a plank bed, and weren't separated until they reached the hospital. The story spread to every village in the small town, from the main streets to the remotest alleyways. Wherever people gathered, their tale was on everyone's lips. To protect his reputation, Factory Director Zhao pressured Zhao Chanqian to insist she had been raped. Wei Gang, who was already a sent-down youth, went straight from the hospital to prison. Unable to bear the gossip and pointing fingers from her factory co-workers, Zhao Qianqian finally jumped from the 5th floor of the staff building. She didn't die, but was left permanently disabled. Wei Gang's mother, who lived in the city, carried bags of gifts to the prison to plead for help. She was repeatedly turned away, and in the end, unable to endure the public scorn, she lost her mind. Dad held my hand and sighed from time to time. Thank goodness you two didn't get the marriage certificate. I just smiled. For anyone who dares to cross my Xiangxiang, this is exactly what they deserve. Story 2. On the flight back to finalize our divorce, Yi Beichuan and I both perished in the crash. Just before the plane went down, he said, if I could do it all over again, I would marry Wang Lehuan. Only with her do I feel truly alive. When I opened my eyes again, I had been sent back to the day he proposed to me. He scooped up the bouquet in his hands, turned, and rushed toward Wang Lehuan in the crowd, dropping to one knee. Wang Lehuan, he asked, will you marry me? I know, he was reborn, too, as he wished. I stepped aside for them, but later, he regretted it. He got down on his knees and begged me to take him back. Hello everyone, and welcome to Glimmering Love Stories. Wang Lehuan covered her mouth in disbelief, nodding repeatedly as tears of joy streamed down her face. The two of them held each other in a tight embrace. The clueless onlookers all cheered and offered their blessings, yet, someone couldn't help but voice their confusion. Wasn't Yi Beichuan supposed to propose to Meng Shuiyue? How did it end up being Wang Lehuan? Exactly, Yi Beichuan was talking about Meng Shuiyue in the group chat, telling us to come cheer her on. What's going on now? Who knows? The two of them held each other in a tight embrace for a long time. Yi Beichuan turned around and picked up the microphone. Thank you all for being here today to witness our love. In the past, I didn't understand my own true feelings. Now I do. The one I've always loved is Wang Lehuan. I missed my chance with her before, and I don't want to miss it again for the rest of my life. I want to spend my life with her, hand in hand, until our hair turns white. He looked at me with a detached expression and said, forced affection isn't sweet. What we had was a mistake. I hope we can part on good terms. Meng, please don't make this difficult. The ringing in my ears from the explosion slowly faded, and I found myself reborn on the very day Yi Beichuan was supposed to propose to me in my past life. Looking at Yi Beichuan before me and recalling his final words in my previous life, that if given another chance, he would choose Wang Lehuan, I knew he had been reborn too. His gaze at this moment was exactly as it had been when he was 38 in our past life, cool, rational, his demeanor matured and steadied by years of making tough calls in the business world. We were still sophomores in college at the time, and Yi Beichuan and I had already been dating for 2 years. He chose Valentine's Day to announce it to all our close classmates and friends, setting up a massive floral display on the field that night. Ready to propose to me, actually. This proposal had something to do with Wang Lehuan. Wang Lehuan was a year ahead of us, the lead singer of a band, beautiful, lively, flamboyant, free-spirited, and unafraid to love or hate. She fell for Yi Beichuan at first sight during the freshman orientation. She repeatedly showed him affection, bringing him breakfast, giving him gifts, and even creating opportunities for them to be alone together during student council work. Even knowing I existed, she'd say, we're not married, after all. You should be bold in life. When you meet someone you like, you have to make a move. How can you know who's right for you if you don't try? Yi Beichuan would give her the cold shoulder every time, but she'd still stick to his side, beaming with a bright smile. Fed up, Yi Beichuan decided to propose to me on Valentine's Day, to make it clear to Wang Lehuan that he was going to marry me and that he would never have feelings for her. In my past life, when Yi Beichuan proposed to me, Wang Lehuan stood at the very front of the crowd, dressed in a vibrant red dress, bold and unapologetic. She shouted at him, Yi Beichuan, think carefully. If you go through with this proposal, I swear I'll stop liking you for good. I'm asking you one last time, are you willing to be with me or not? The Yi Beichuan from that past life declared with unwavering conviction, the only woman I will ever marry is Meng Shuiyue. She is the only one I love. Senior, I must ask you to stop this pursuit. But now, he claims our entire relationship was a mistake and tells me to let it go. Under the gaze of the surrounding onlookers, I looked calmly at their tightly clasped hands. Of course, from this moment on, we're through. We go our separate ways, with no ties left between us. Hearing my words, Yi Beichuan let out a sigh of relief. Wang Lehuan leaped onto him in excitement, wrapping her legs around his waist. I knew you'd be mine, but you made me wait so long before saying yes. You owe me. Alright, what do you want? I want to feel what it's like to ride on a motorcycle. Easy, no problem. I'm going to sing from the mountaintop. Alright, I want to try every drink in every bar, no problem. Yi Beichuan gazed at her with adoration, as if looking at a long-lost treasure finally returned. The crowd clapped and chanted in unison, kiss, kiss, kiss. My roommates were outraged on my behalf. Yi Beichuan has gone too far. They said, isn't this just public infidelity? All that high-minded talk about finally understanding his feelings, where was that earlier? Why did he have to break up with you now, of all times? Seriously, he gathered all our classmates, supposedly to propose to Shuyue, but then he broke up with her right in front of everyone and immediately moved on to the next girl. What a scumbag. I turned to them and said, let's go. Didn't you say there's a bar opening today? Come on. My treat. They watched as I calmly downed one drink after another. They were really worried about me, trying to cheer me up and saying I shouldn't waste my tears on a jerk like that. I smiled, hugged them, and said I was actually happy, truly happy to be free of him. Yi Beichuan and I were neighbors, childhood sweethearts from equally prominent families. A marriage alliance was inevitable, and our families naturally paired us together, supporting each other all the way. We agreed to start dating once we got into university and marry right after graduation. Everything seemed to fall perfectly into place. In our previous life, after marriage, our days gradually became consumed by work, the daily grind, and our children's education. Slowly, the bond between us faded. He had said more than once that life lacked passion, that it was too smooth and uneventful, and simply boring. Back then, Wang Luhuan had become a somewhat famous rock singer. Her flamboyant, passionate, and dancing figure at music festivals would often hold Yi Beichuan's gaze for a long time. Even if it was just a video, he would watch it over and over again. Later, he deliberately found excuses to get close to her. At that time, Wang Luhuan lived by the principle of seizing the day, advocated for staying single, and had just broken up with her last boyfriend. One was deliberate in their approach, the other was carefree and easygoing. As adults, they didn't need many words. They ended up sleeping together several times. When I found out, I naturally confronted him, but he just said I could go find other men too, and that we should each do as we please. Seeing the indifference in his eyes, and how all the tenderness and affection he once had for me was gone, I asked for a divorce. He didn't agree at first, mostly because dividing our assets would be a huge hassle, but in the end, he gave in to my insistence. He just looked at me with a mocking glint in his eyes. It's true, being with someone free-spirited is the happiest. These past 2 weeks with Wang Luhuan have brought me more joy than my entire life before. The wild, unrestrained freedom I never had in my youth, I've finally tasted it now. You, a child raised in a wealthy family, following every rule, your mind is always calculating. Your heart only knows profit and loss. You'll never understand what a passionate, vibrant life feels like. All I could think was, how had I never noticed this foolishly naive side of him before? He thinks he's grasped the true meaning of life. Little does he know, without a solid material foundation, even the most carefree and dashing existence is like a castle built on sand. It crumbles at the first strong wind. Having had too much to drink, I headed to the restroom once again. On the way, I passed by a private room whose door was slightly ajar. I happened to overhear someone asking, "Hey, Yi Beichuan, what you pulled off on the field today was totally unexpected. I heard you and Meng Shuwei grew up together. Do you really not have feelings for her anymore?" Yi Beichuan took a drag of his cigarette and blew out a smoke ring. Childhood sweethearts. Precisely because we grew up together and our families kept pushing us together, I thought I liked her. But it was just the affection of ordinary friends. Her rational, composed personality isn't my type at all. So who is it you really like then? Someone teased. Yi Beichuan pulled Wang Luhuan into an embrace. It's Luhuan, of course. The hallway was narrow. Someone passing by bumped into me, and the half-open door was pushed wide by the impact. Everyone inside looked at me and fell silent. Yi Beichuan tapped his cigarette into the ashtray and frowned at me. Didn't we already agree to break up? I thought you weren't the clingy type. What are you doing here? Wang Luhuan immediately sat on Yi Beichuan's lap, wrapping her arms around his neck to stake her claim. I told you from the start, you never know how things will end. Beichuan chose me. You're not thinking of trying to win him back, are you? Yi Beichuan patted her shoulder reassuringly. Don't worry, he said, I don't go back to my exes. I couldn't help but laugh. These two really were a perfect match. Both equally full of themselves. Relax, just passing through, I said. I'm not in the business of collecting trash. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of Yi Beichuan's face darkening for a split second. The feelings that had been worn away in my past life were now completely gone. Their envisioned future stirred not a single ripple within me. As I turned, I collided straight into someone's arms. Instinctively, my hands flew to their chest for support. Quite firm. I looked up and saw it was none other than Gu Nanfeng, the heir of the Gu family from the north side of the city, 5 years my senior, who had just returned from his studies abroad to take over the family business. In the dim, flickering light of the bar, he wore a black shirt buttoned all the way to the top. His handsome, aloof features, cast in shadow, gave off an intensely austere and forbidding air. He glanced over, his head slightly bowed and his gaze lowered. Realizing I was still slumped against his chest, I coughed awkwardly, took a step back, and apologized. Just then, another voice chimed in from the private booth. You know, Meng Shuiwei is quite pretty. Since you've broken up, Yi Beichuan, I think I'll make a move on her. Whatever. Can I ask a personal question? Have you too, done it? Yi Beichuan scoffed. She's so old-fashioned, insists on waiting until we're engaged. Boring and rigid. Well then. I'll have to give it a shot. Wang Luan's voice came through, tinged with displeasure. If your proposal goes well tonight, won't you be the one walking away with the beauty? You're the beauty here now. To celebrate us being together, why don't you come to my place tonight? You're impossible. The man before her had an inscrutable expression, his voice low and magnetic. Broke up, so you're single now. I frowned in disgust at the conversation inside. The excess alcohol churning in my stomach was becoming unbearable. With a dismissive grunt, I made a beeline for the restroom. Just as I was about to collide with someone again, a hand caught me by the waist. That was the final straw. I couldn't hold back any longer and retched violently, splattering the front of the person's shirt. The black dress shirt was instantly adorned with a three-dimensional, abstract pattern. Sore. Ugh. Well, no need for the restroom now. I threw up everything in one go, and both our clothes and shoes were a complete mess. I covered my face, utterly mortified. I'd never been so embarrassed in my life. As I listened to him ask the server about cleaning up, he suggested we get a room at the hotel upstairs to go and freshen up. I just nodded. Perhaps I had too much to drink, and throwing up so violently left my legs feeling weak. He murmured excuse me, then swept me up in his arms and carried me into the elevator. After finishing in the bathroom, I came out and was surprised to see Gu Nanfeng still standing right where I'd left him. He explained that this was the only bathroom in the room, so I quickly stepped aside to let him pass. Just then, my roommate called to remind me that the dormitory curfew was approaching and it was time to head back. I could only give a brief explanation and ask them to head back first, saying I'd book a room at the hotel later. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Someone delivered 2 sets of clothes, 1 for men and 3 for women, along with some honey water. Staring at the bathroom's glass door, I wondered how I could ever repay this favor. Listening to the sound of running water from the shower, it suddenly hit me. I'd left my underwear on the sink after my bath. And the bathrobe and towels were currently wrapped around me. I clenched my fists and let out a silent scream. Having lived a previous life where I rarely made mistakes, it was utterly mortifying to experience 2 embarrassing incidents right after being reborn. I was completely falling apart. I hurried out to the front desk to book a room, only to find they were all fully booked. The bathrobes were gone too, but the receptionist managed to find a bath towel and a hand towel for me. Hearing the water stop running inside, I quickly moved closer to the door and said I had brought a fresh bath towel. I turned my back and passed it to him through the door crack. My fingers accidentally brushed against his, and I couldn't help but flinch. When he came out drying his hair, I saw the 6-pack abs peeking out from the towel, water droplets still trickling down his skin. Maybe it was the alcohol, but my face felt unbearably hot. I quickly turned my back and said someone had brought clothes and honey water. He paused drying his hair. I didn't know your size, so I bought 3 different ones. See which fits. The honey water is for you. It helps with the hangover. Thanks, I then said, a bit frustrated, that the hotel was fully booked, and I had no idea why there were so many people staying there. He thought for a moment, raised an eyebrow, and said, it's probably because of Valentine's Day. It suddenly dawned on me too. Once the topic was brought up, the atmosphere seemed to get a little awkward. I gave an awkward smile. I should probably check out other hotels. I don't want to intrude on you and your girlfriend. He walked over to me, his 6-pack abs directly in the line of sight of me sitting on the couch. I suddenly felt a bit parched. He looked at me earnestly. I don't have a girlfriend. Reaching past me to grab the hairdryer, he added. Other hotels are probably all booked up by now anyway, and it's not safe for a girl to be wandering around looking for a place this late at night. I frowned. If I went home at this hour, My parents would definitely grill me about what happened. My mom, especially, has seen too many news stories about school bullying. If she saw me coming home late, she'd probably jump to conclusions. And if I told them about what happened with Yibachin, they'd be up all night worrying. Actually, you could stay here for the night, you can take the bed, I'll sleep on the couch. I gave him a look, a complicated, searching one. He couldn't help but laugh and explain, our families have business dealings. Don't worry, I won't try anything. Speaking of which, it reminds me that in his previous life, he never married, yet the group's business thrived immensely under his leadership. There have always been rumors in our circle that he either isn't interested in women or has some physical ailment. Thinking of that puts my mind at ease. With no romantic prospects to speak of, there's really nothing to worry about. Moreover, looking at his solid chest, six-pack abs, long and powerful legs, and especially those handsome, well-defined features, it's a win-win situation, no matter what happens. As I relaxed, the lazy, post-drink drowsiness began to set in, after drying his hair. He looked at my long curls and asked, aren't you going to dry yours? I felt my hair, it was already half dry. I took the hairdryer and gave it a quick blast anyway. If anything, the breeze is just making me more alert. The two of them sat in a slightly awkward, wordless silence. After looking at my phone for a moment, I said, it's getting late, we should turn in. Yeah, with the lights off, my senses sharpened in the dark, just as drowsiness began to set in. I heard some suggestive sounds drift over. It instantly reminded me that the hotel was fully booked for Valentine's Day. Maybe it's because my period is due soon. But I was feeling unusually irritable, lying there with my eyes open, listening to the noises from the other side of the wall and sensing the other presence in the room. I whispered, are you asleep? No, maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was a brush with death making me want to cut loose. Or maybe the mood was just right. The feeling was just there. Gazing at the leg visible on the sofa in the moonlight, I swallowed hard. The bed's pretty big. Would you like to come sleep here? His voice dropped lower. Do you have any idea what you're saying? Suddenly, a rumor from my past life came back to me. Are you incapable? Medical science is quite advanced these days. If there's really an issue, you shouldn't avoid seeing a doctor. Otherwise, you'll end up a bachelor for life. I felt the bed dip on his side as he loomed over me, bracing himself on his arms. Is this reverse psychology? You can feel for yourself whether I'm capable or not. Feeling the heat radiating from beneath me, my body tensed up. I boldly reached out a hand. Well, we'll have to try it to find out. A night of tumultuous ups and downs. It seems the rumors were wrong. He's not just capable, he's very capable. I woke up the next day with a terrible ache in my lower back. The room was empty. After a quick tidy up, I headed out and ran right into Gu Nanfeng at the hotel entrance. He gestured to the takeout boxes in his hand. I went and got some breakfast. Heading back to campus now. I'll give you a ride. Not feeling well. I didn't put on any airs. I sat in his car, taking sips of milk and bites of my sandwich. Just before getting out, he picked up his phone and gave it a little shake. Want to add me on WeChat? His fingers tapped rhythmically on the steering wheel. And the look he gave me was intensely predatory. With the soul of a 38-year-old, I naturally saw things clearly. After a moment's thought, I smiled and said, all right. On my way to the classroom, I ran into Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan. I ignored them and kept walking. But Yi Beichuan blocked my path. Where were you last night? This is my business. Don't you think you're overstepping, Yi? His expression darkened. Someone saw you being carried into the hotel upstairs by a man yesterday. Who was he? What happened between you two? I scoffed. Who I'm with is my own business. If I recall correctly, we broke up yesterday. Talking like this makes it seem like you're not over me. Wang Luhuan's face also changed. She pulled her arm free from Yi Beichuan's grasp. If she wants to go to a hotel with someone, that's her choice. Why do you care so much? Don't tell me you actually still have feelings for her. Yi Beichuan took her arm, coaxing. I was just being neighborly when I showed concern. My feelings for you are as clear as day, and you're the only one in my heart now. Why else would I have chosen you in front of all those people yesterday? Yi Beichuan looked at me coolly. Don't get the wrong idea. I broke up with you yesterday, and I was worried you might be throwing yourself at someone else just to spite me because you couldn't let go. As long as that's not the case, it's fine. I let out a cold laugh. Sometimes, it's best not to be so full of yourself. You're not the only man in the world. You've moved on to a new life, and naturally, I'll have a new boyfriend too. Ignoring his furrowed brow, I turned and walked away. What a narcissistic hypocrite. Just because Wang Luhuan pursued him for 2 years, he thinks he's God's gift to women. The buzz around the dramatic Valentine's Day proposal scene at school gradually died down. The fanbase for the Yi Beichuan and Wang Luhuan ship started to grow. He rode his bike with her on the back, cruising through campus in the summer breeze. Just like the leads in a campus romance drama, they kissed on the mountaintop and vowed to love each other for a lifetime. They raced their motorcycles down the empty late-night streets, thrilling to the rush of speed. They sang at the top of their lungs by the sea at night, feeling the sheer freedom of being alive. They each got the other's initials tattooed on their waists as a testament to their fierce love. By this point, Wang Luhuan had already amassed a small following on social media for her singing. On top of that, her frequent posts of couple photos, videos, and passionate love captions drew in even more onlookers. Many people said they were a perfect match, like the main characters straight out of a novel. And just as he had wished in his previous life, Yi Beichuan finally got to experience a youth that was passionate, vibrant, and unrestrained. It was when Yi Beichuan posted a photo with Wang Luhuan on his social media. Both families had learned the whole story by then. Mom and Dad were absolutely furious. All I could do was try to console them, saying it's better to have this come out now than to have him cheat after getting married, to put their minds at ease. I also told them that I don't have any feelings for Yi Beichuan at the moment. I wanted them not to worry about this matter. Mom looked at me with relief and nodded. You've always been sensible. In matters of the heart, you must always hold a part of yourself back. That way, when things change, you can walk away unscathed. Dad pondered for a moment and said, it seems we'll need to find a different partner for the North City project this time. I remained silent. In my past life, Yi Beichuan and I were a couple. So our families always prioritized each other for business collaborations. In that past life, we awarded the North City project to the Yi family. I knew they weren't the most suitable choice, but because of my relationship with Beichuan, I thought, why let the flow to? It was also a way to strengthen the ties between our families. But in this life, since we won't become family, I'll simply focus on which partnership yields the greatest benefit. My academic schedule isn't too demanding. So in my free time, I intern and work at a company. I also frequently attend business banquets to broaden my horizons and build my professional network. This past weekend, I attended an elder's 80th birthday celebration. After greeting a few elders with my father, I went over to the dessert area to take a short break. At that moment, Yi Beichuan's younger brother approached with a glass of wine. You look absolutely stunning tonight, Miss Meng. I thanked him politely. He took a sip from his glass and looked at me. I heard Mr. Meng hasn't found a partner for the North City project yet. I shook my head. I wouldn't know. My father is handling that matter. He chuckled softly. My eldest brother really threw away a winning hand. He's lost the watermelon, and might not even pick up a sesame seed. He dares to be absent from an occasion like today. I offered no comment. He looked at me with a teasing smile. You know, I'm only 2 years younger than Miss Meng. Perhaps you should consider me instead. I declined politely, excusing myself by saying I wanted some time alone, and finally managed to send him on his way. A low, husky voice sounded beside me. Miss Meng is quite the popular one, I see. Seeing the newcomer, my fingers tightened around my glass. Mr. Gu, eavesdropping is hardly gentlemanly conduct. He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a murmur. A gentleman would remain unmoved, but in your presence, Miss Meng, I find I cannot be a gentleman. The proximity of his body instantly brought back memories of that wild, chaotic night. I swirled the wine in my glass. What do you mean by that, Mr. Gu? That was the youngest son of the Yi family, wasn't it? He's far too young. If you're looking for a partner, Miss Meng, perhaps you should consider me. What do you think? Looking at the man of such mature charm before me, and recalling the business maneuvers he would execute in the coming years, I had to admit he was both capable and shrewd. If he were the one, I was about to reply when a murmur of whispers drifted over from the distance. I turned to look. To my surprise, Yi Beichuan had actually shown up, and he'd brought Wang Luhuan with him. They must have just gotten back from a ride, still clad in their full leathers, a stark contrast to the sea of suits and evening gowns around them. Yi Beichuan's father was speaking to him in a low voice, his expression clearly angry. Wang Luhuan, however, was quite at ease, holding on to Yi Beichuan's arm and looking around curiously. After greeting the elderly gentleman celebrating his birthday, Yi Beichuan led Wang Luhuan over. Are you hungry? Didn't you just have chow mein? Mind if I try the pastries here? I'm curious to see if the ones at a fancy party like this are any different from the regular bakery. Sure, whatever you want. The two of them were lost in their own intimate world. When he saw me, Yi Beichuan gave a slight Indifferent nod, Wang Lehuan picked up one piece here, another piece there. I picked up my phone and took a selfie. Finally, holding a pastry, she walked over to me and did a little twirl. You rich folks sure are big on ceremony. It's just a birthday party, but you all have to wear gowns and suits, putting on such a proper show. Someone nearby couldn't take it anymore. This is how you dress for a formal event. It's a sign of respect. Meanwhile, you show up in a biker jacket with your hair all windblown. Isn't that a bit disrespectful? Wang Lehuang ran a hand through her hair. This is just my casual style. The birthday gentleman himself just complimented us young people for our vibrant energy and genuine nature. Honestly, don't you all get tired of putting on an act every single day? Her words instantly drew angry glares from the listeners, directed at her and, by extension, at Yi Beichuan. Yi Beichuan stepped in front of Wang Lehuan and offered a cool apology. Lehuan is sincere and straightforward by nature. I hope you won't take it to heart. It wouldn't do to cause a scene at the old master's birthday celebration. In his past life, he had held a high position where others fawned over him. His aloof demeanor never drew criticism, but now, he was merely a university student with no position in the company. Speaking so coldly immediately drew looks of displeasure from those around him. A peer asked, Yi Beichuan, what do you even see in her? Meng Shuiwei clearly has better family background, looks, and capabilities. In an instant, all eyes in the room turned to me. Yi Beichuan first frowned and glanced at me. Meng Shuiwei is fine, but to me, Lu Huan is the best. He then took Wang Luhuan's hand, saying what he loved most was her candid, passionate nature, and that being with her made him feel relaxed and happy. Wang Lehuan then went even further, boldly planting a passionate kiss on him right then and there. This left everyone around them visibly uncomfortable. It was incredibly inappropriate and a serious breach of etiquette for such a formal occasion. Someone sneered, what is this, a scene from a soap opera? Rumor has it that after the banquet, Yi Beichuan's father gave him an absolute earful. Make him break up with Wang Luhuan and apologize to me. I'm the only one who can truly help his career. Yi Beichuan refused, saying he had the ability to succeed on his own and didn't need to rely on a woman. The conversation ended badly. I was actually relieved. Yi Beichuan is dead to me now. He should just stay firmly with Wang Luhuan. He'd better not come crawling back to me, or I'll be so disgusted I won't be able to sleep. For the project in the northern part of the city, father ultimately decided to partner with the Gu family. Father couldn't stop singing Gu Nanfeng's praises. That's why Gu Nanfeng even came over to our house for a meal. In the afternoon, I was planning to head back to school, and Gu Nanfeng said he was going that way and could give me a lift. As I was about to get out, the car door was still locked. I looked at him, puzzled. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel, his gaze taking on a hint of aggression. You still haven't given me an answer about the banquet hall, Miss Meng. It came back to me in a flash. I narrowed my eyes at him. Are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking? I smiled at his slightly nervous expression. All right. He stared at me blankly. What, didn't Mr. Gu want to date me? I accept. If I had to choose someone for a marriage of convenience, Gu Nanfeng was indeed a good candidate, at the very least, in my past life. He remained single and was never involved in any scandals. He stared at me intently. You really agreed? I smiled and ran my index finger along his jawline. Mr. Gu, you're handsome and capable. Agreeing to this seems like the natural thing to do. Are you surprised? He grabbed my hand. I can hardly believe it. I leaned in, kissed his lips, and gave them a gentle nip. Do you believe it now? His deep eyes churned with emotion as he cupped the back of my head, turning the tables and taking control. We didn't part until we were both breathless. He traced my lips with his thumb. Summer break is almost here. Any plans? I had originally planned to intern at my family's company, but looking at Gu Nanfeng, I suddenly changed my mind. How about I intern at your company for 2 months? He smiled. Don't want to part ways. I was honest. It's well known that Mr. Gu is highly capable. I'd like to learn from you. Would you give me the chance? It would be my pleasure. And so, I spent the entire summer working as Mr. Gu Nanfeng's assistant, gaining a genuine appreciation for his sharp insight into industry trends and his decisive management style. He's a total workaholic. Pulling all-nighters until midnight is just routine for him. On top of that, he's incredibly disciplined, getting up at 6 a.m. every day to work out. And he's got serious self-control, even when there are attractive women trying to get his attention at business dinners. He politely turns them down. I teased him, asking if he was really that immune to their charms. He just replied that accepting such favors would probably cost him a few percentage points on the deal. For him, the contract is what really matters. If it weren't for his boundless energy at night, I'd seriously wonder if there was something wrong with him. Once, after we were done, I asked him if he would have just stayed single forever if he hadn't met me. He thought for a moment and said he didn't know. He had already mapped out the next 20 years for the GU group. He figured he'd either be too busy with work, or he'd settle down if he met the right person. I couldn't help but think to myself, you made it to your 40s without finding the right person. I asked him why he chose me. He said he didn't really know either. The first time he saw me was at a banquet, and he asked about me afterwards. It's just that I was with Yi Beichuan at the time. It wasn't until he found out we had broken up that he made his move. Before I knew it, 5 years had passed. After graduating from university, I went abroad for further studies on Gu Nanfeng's advice, combined with what I learned by his side. I feel my capabilities are now very strong. I'm handling company oversight, project launches, and personnel appointments with increasing ease and confidence. In the year I returned to China, Gu Nanfeng successfully proposed to me. Meanwhile, over those 5 years, Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan had been living a carefree and unrestrained life. They wore a suit and wedding dress at their graduation, and their graduation wedding even trended on social media. People praised it as the perfect picture of true love. Wang Lehuan, a lifelong commitment phobe in her past life, married the man she had pursued for 2 years, while Yi Beichuan, just as he had said in that previous life, married the passionate and vibrant Wang Lehuan. We had different aspirations and have each found the lifestyle we wanted. I thought that was the end of the story. Life is like compiling a book of mistakes. There always comes a time when someone will personally overturn everything they've ever done. Yi Beichuan has started working at a company, while Wang Lehuan has become a rock singer. I heard from friends that they'd broken up and gotten back together several times. As their fan bases grew and given Yi Beichuan's public profile, their romantic saga frequently became trending news. I get it, life should be lived with passion, but lately, the news of their breakup just won't stop. Someone caught Yi Beichuan and Wang Lehuan in a heated argument. There's even a video circulating of Wang Lehuan getting close with another guy on the dance floor at a bar. I just skimmed it like a piece of gossip and then got busy with work and wedding preparations. After work that day, as Gu Nanfeng was holding my hand and leading me out, my phone rang with a call from an unexpected number. I answered the call, and following the voice on the other end, I glanced not far to the side. Yi Beichuan was standing right there, phone in hand, looking straight at me. Gu Nanfeng tightened his grip on my hand. I gave it a reassuring pat and said, "Wait for me. It's probably work-related, I'll be right back." We moved in the same circles, so I'd met Yi Beichuan a few times before, mostly in professional settings. He kissed my forehead as if staking his claim, leaving me caught between amusement and exasperation. It wasn't until I walked up to Yi Beichuan that I caught the strong scent of cigarettes on him. I looked at him coolly. It would be better for Mr. Yi to discuss work matters during office hours. He gave a slight, wry smile and looked at me. "How have you been lately?" I raised an eyebrow. "I've been fine." It seemed he wasn't here to talk about work, so there was no need for me to stay. I was just about to say goodbye and leave. He lit another cigarette. "Things haven't been going too well for me." I frowned at his smoke and subtly took a couple of steps back. From his outpouring, I learned that ever since he graduated and joined the company, he'd had less and less time to spend with Wang Lehuan. But Wang Lehuan kept on with her social whirl, frequently going out with friends to party and live it up, embracing a carefree and unrestrained lifestyle. She would sometimes get a bit too close with other men, which naturally led Yi Beichuan to confront her. Their arguments became more and more frequent. Wang Lehuan complained that Yi Beichuan didn't spend enough time with her, while he retorted that she didn't understand the hardship of being the family's breadwinner. Wang Lehuan said they should just enjoy the moment. Why bother chasing after so much money? You can't take it with you, as the saying goes. But that wasn't how Yi Beichuan saw it deep down. For him, money was the foundation of everything. Back in school, I had my family's support. Now that I've graduated and joined the company, I have to earn every penny on my own. Moreover, Yi Beichuan has 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers. 2 of them are illegitimate sons. Acknowledged by old Master Yi and brought back into the Yi family, the internal power struggles are fierce. Yi Beichuan is of mediocre ability. It was only with the backing of my main family in his previous life that he managed to seize most of the power within the group. This time around, without my help, even with his memories from the past life, his situation is far from favorable. He gave a bitter smile. I was just so agitated, thought I needed to talk to someone, and somehow ended up here. "Do you think I'm a complete failure right now?" I said flatly. "Everyone has the life they want and the path they choose to walk. Once you've chosen that path, Whether it's a success or a failure is entirely up to how you see it. What you're going through now has nothing to do with me. I have a fiancé, Mr. Yi. You'd be better off finding someone else to confide in next time. The man in my life gets jealous easily, thinking of Gunanfeng. I couldn't help but smile. Yi Beichuan stared at me blankly, about to say more when I cut him off. If there's nothing else, Mr. Yi, I'll be on my way. Goodbye. The moment I got in the car, Gunanfeng grabbed me and kissed me fiercely, meeting his possessive gaze. I smiled and gently bumped my forehead against his. Don't worry, I'm not one to go back to my ex. With a towering tree like President Gu to hold on to, I'd never dream of letting go. The wedding took place as scheduled 2 months later. The wedding was grand and dreamlike. The moment my father placed my hand into Gunanfeng's, I saw his eyes welling up. As the officiant announced the exchange of rings, he slipped the ring onto my finger, kissed my forehead, and said solemnly, I love you. I placed the ring on his finger as well, looking at his beaming smile, and said, I love you too. In this world, some may betray your affection, but there are also those who will cherish it with a heart full of sincerity. A person with a sincere heart should not be betrayed, so, Gunanfeng, in this lifetime, I choose you. Even if I hold back a fraction, all the affection that remains in me is yours. If you do not betray me, I will stand by you to the very end. Married life remained simple and happy. However, news broke online at this time that Wang Lehuan had checked into a hotel room with someone while drunk. The time and place were crystal clear, and netizens were all online, eagerly following the drama. Yi Beichuan was cornered by reporters at the entrance of Yi Corporation, his entire demeanor looking utterly haggard. The reporters' questions grew increasingly sharp. In the live broadcast, he suddenly flung a reporter's microphone to the ground, pushed through the crowd, and left. I briefly scrolled past this news story and continued browsing the latest policy updates. My phone rang. I looked at the protagonist from the live stream I was just watching, frowned, and answered. The person on the other end was breathing heavily. Shuiwe, I regret it. Can we get back together? I reminded him. Yi Beichuan, even if we weren't both with other people now, I still wouldn't marry you. But in our past life, you were my wife. We're meant to be together. My heart sank. His tone was all wrong. I don't understand what you're talking about. If it's not about work, don't call me again. I'm very happy with my husband, so please stop bothering me. After saying that, I hung up and blocked his number, but a sense of unease settled in my gut. I couldn't focus on work anymore, so I packed up my things and headed home. When I reached the parking lot and got into my car, something felt off. I glanced in the rearview mirror and my eyes widened in shock. I immediately tried to push the door open, but I felt a sharp prick in my neck. Then, everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Yi Beichuan's back as he stood there. I sat weakly, looking at my surroundings. It was actually the school rooftop. I was still in one piece, relatively speaking. Yi Beichuan, what are you doing? Do you realize this is kidnapping? Yi Beichuan turned and knelt before me, his voice gentle. Shuiwe, I know I was wrong. You're the one who's truly right for me. Wang Lehuan was only good for a fling, but you're the one I should marry. Can we start over? A plan began forming in my mind. Alright, we can talk, but let's do it somewhere else. He stared intently. You're lying. Shuiwe has always been so clever. I knew you wouldn't be willing. Trying to get to a different place to escape. Is that it? He stood up and smiled dismissively. It's fine if you don't agree. Shuiwe, do you know about past lives? In our previous life, we were husband and wife. We lived very happily, with both a son and a daughter. We were the envy of everyone. Everything in this life is a mistake. Now, I'm going to set everything back the way it was. My heart sank. What did he mean by that? I felt the phone in my pocket and secretly sent a message under the table. Yi Beichuan gave a careless smile. Go ahead and call. It doesn't matter. Even if the police come, nothing will change. We'll all just end up back where we started. Hearing that, I immediately called the police and explained the situation. I also called Gunanfeng, asking him to bring Wang Lehuan over. Maybe she could talk some sense into Yi Beichuan in his current state. Yi Beichuan listened to my call, glanced at his watch, and said there were still 30 minutes left. Looking at the time on my phone, I suddenly remembered that in my past life, the plane crash had happened exactly 30 minutes from now. I stared at Yi Beichuan in horror. Have you lost your mind? You chose the life you wanted. Just because it's not going well, you want to throw it all away and start over. If you want to die, fine, but don't drag me down with you. I tried to take a couple of steps, but my body felt utterly weak. Yi Beichuan held me loosely as we walked to the edge of the rooftop, looking at the distant sports field. You know, he said, when I was reborn, It was right at the moment I was proposing to you. If it had been successful, we'd be married by now, we would have been so happy. I let out a cold laugh. Would we really have been happy? If we had actually gotten together smoothly, you'd probably still be pining for Wang Luhuan, wouldn't you? He was silent for a moment. So it's true, you've been reborn too. That explains why you were so calm when I proposed to Wang Luhuan. Well then, that's perfect. Let's go back to the beginning together and start over, this time. I promise I'll spend the rest of my life with you, properly, I said, enunciating each word clearly. I refuse. Even if we went back to our previous lives, I wouldn't be with you. You know my personality well enough. With these memories, I'd only stay as far away from you as possible. 20 minutes later, Gu Nanfeng arrived with the police, and Wang Luhuan came with them. Gu Nanfeng looked at me urgently and said, Yi Beichuan, take me as your hostage instead. Let Shiyu go. Yi Beichuan shook his head. Gu Nanfeng clenched his fists tightly. Just name your terms. Yi Beichuan continued to shake his head. Finally, Wang Luhuan exploded. Yi Beichuan, I knew you still had feelings for Meng Shuyue. What? Are you planning to die for love or something now? Yi Beichuan glanced at Wang Luhuan and scoffed. Looking back now, the time we spent together, it seemed fun on the surface, but it was actually pretty dull. Nothing but drinking and clubbing. It was meaningless. Wang Luhuan sneered back. Then break up. It's meaningless now, is it? Weren't you the one who partied the hardest back then? Now you're bored, so it's meaningless. I fucking regret ever marrying you. If I could do it over, I'd stay as far away from you as possible. Yi Beichuan nodded. Well said. That's exactly what I want. A chance to start over. He glanced at the time and murmured, It's time. My heart skipped a beat. Yi Beichuan. Even if I could start over, I would never choose you. He gave me a long, deep look. You're right. If you went back with your memories intact, you'd never forgive me. So, he released me. I'll go back on my own. I'm going to change the ending, start over, and take back everything that's rightfully mine. I collapsed weakly, and Gu Nanfeng rushed over, scooped me up, and started running downstairs. Only when we reached the ground did I see the ambulance parked nearby, and the airbag lying on the ground. It took a month of recuperation in the hospital for my body to fully recover. During that time, I heard that Yi Beichuan hadn't actually died. Instead, he was left completely paralyzed, with brain damage so severe he no longer recognized anyone. There was almost no chance of a cure. Wang Luhuan sued Yi Beichuan for divorce. In the end, the Yi family intervened, and their marriage was formally dissolved. Having forgotten everything, Yi Beichuan spent the rest of his days in the sanatorium. Gu Nanfeng and I had 2 children. One took his surname, and the other took mine. Hand in hand, we walked through the years together. Those who give their true heart shall receive true heart in return. That's all for today's story. If you've listened this far, please leave a happy every day in the comments. Twilight wishes everyone happiness every single day.